All right, we are back for week 2 of our collection of talks. We're doing a study on relationships, or centering around what relationships look like. And we've been using this letter from Paul to Philemon to do that journey. And last week, we kind of covered what it looks like to put Jesus at the center of our relationships. And it's from this place that our relationships should look different. And on Sunday, I would have preached on this idea, or I guess the spiritual motivation behind why we should live differently. Things like because that other person in your life is also a child of God, created by Him, that maybe what you're going through, God has a plan and a purpose in this as well, and a whole heap of other things. So today, what I wanted to do was kind of just get really, really practical. How do we have crucial conversations? Well, last week we talked about going back.
Do you want to explain what a crucial conversation is?
Yeah, crucial conversations for me are like hinge conversations. They matter to moving forward. And they're often the conversations that we avoid. Basically, if it's a conversation you're avoiding, it's probably a crucial conversation. I don't like to say like a conflict resolution, because I think it's crucial that we have these conversations. And we talked last week about going back to go forward. But part of that process of going back often involves a crucial conversation.
Yeah.
And so in a relationship, in a marriage context, we're going to talk from that place today. But I think we have these in the workplace.
Yeah.
And I think the tools we'll talk about that we've used in our marriage are applicable across relationships. So what would you say are the top, I guess, tools that we've used over the journey? And they've shifted and changed, and we argue a lot, don't you reckon?
I think we argue. I think we argue well. I think arguing is healthy, and I think we argue well.
Yeah.
But
I just kind of like the banter, bicker thing that we have.
That's not really arguing.
Yeah, true.
But I think people should argue. Like, arguing is healthy, and you can do it in a healthy way, should I say?
Yes, because that's the goal. It's not to avoid all arguments.
No, no one doesn't.
When young couples, we've never had an argument yet.
Yeah, don't worry, you will.
It's coming. It's coming, and we need to be tooled up and ready to go. Not for war.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the first thing.
Because you're in it together, right?
It's recognizing you're in it together. And that's in the marriage, but in the workplace.
Yeah.
Well, you're in it to an end goal for whatever that workplace is, or a relationship, friendship. In all of those things, I think it's and probably one of the biggest tools that stands out for me is actually posture. We have much better conversations when we're walking alongside each other, sitting on the couch, rather than like this.
And a tip too that we learned in therapy, like when you're angry and having a conversation like this, like your body is tense, like you talked about posture, like just talking with your hands open just makes you relax. And then, you know,
in the workplace, it's an awesome practice to go into a
Yeah.
meeting like this.
Yeah.
Changes the whole way that you actually approach the conversation, because a lot of what we're trying to do in crucial conversations is lower the heat. Right? We get heated, we get defensive. Alpha Marriage talks about hedgehogs and rhinos, these two kind of different responses that you can, if you know your animals, probably can recognize the responses there. But like rhinos bash through things, and hedgehogs tend to hide or avoid conversations. But both of them are a response of fear or insecurities. What are some other tips that we've used over the years?
I think not avoiding, like setting aside a time to talk about it. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's not a good time to try and resolve it.
At dinner with your friends, it's not a good time to try and resolve it. Or even, exactly like you say, when you're fully heated. So how would that look? How would you say that to me? Is it more of a hedgehog kind of response? Would you identify as a hedgehog?
I'm an avoider, 100%. But we're learning to be better. Okay, I don't want to talk about this right now, but let's talk about it, I don't know, tomorrow night. And then I mentally prepare myself that I'll come
and commit to that time. And often it's just that time break that maybe I need. Emotions settled as the rhino that I need. And then I come and go, actually, I almost don't need this conversation now. But it's always a healthier conversation. Another one of the tools that I really like is sometimes we don't have the words to say in a conversation. And And especially when it's heated, the person might be trying to express what's going on for them, and they use certain words that are triggering or upsetting or offensive, and they may not mean it that way, but the other person then comes in and attacks the words that they're using. And you and I used to do that to each other a lot. And now even still when we do, we come back and we say, wait, just let me spill it on the table. And it's kind of this like picture or metaphor that there's a table in front of us and we're just going to spill out my words, and then would you let me clean them up afterwards? Yeah. It's giving each other space in the conversation to fail, to fall over, to correct what they're saying and not be so on top of them all the time.
Yeah.
What are some other tools you can think of?
Yeah, well, that spill the table thing is a safe word for us, so we know when one of us brings that, we're bringing it into a safe, place.
What's the idea of safe words?
I think to make both parties feel safe, like it's not an attack.
Yeah. So we would unpack things and maybe realize, oh man, that's where we failed in that conversation. That's where everything got derailed. And a really cool practice in any relationship, workplace, whatever, again, is to actually say, oh, next time then, what would be something that I could say to remind us of where we got off track? And
it's like what you talked about, the seek to understand. I think when you come in with that, you hold the other person in mind. Like it's not all about you. Okay, what's going on for you? And I think when you can do that, you see the other person, they're a child of God, like it's not.
Yep. Yeah. Holding them in mind, putting yourself in them shoes. They're all sort of basic things that we've heard, but if we don't slow down, we don't do any of these things. Yeah. And it's only through doing these things that we can actually go, oh, wow, actually they're hurting because of this. And it's not a reflection of me. I don't need to defend. I actually need to nurture. And then when they're in a place of safety, the conversation goes in a totally different direction.
And I think sometimes, everybody gets offended these days. We're easily offended. But I think acknowledging that offense is a choice, and I think talking about, oh, this really offended me, what you said. But the other person most times may not have even meant it like that. But I think offense is a choice, and you're losing out by holding on to that offense. Like it's affecting you more than it is the other person.
That's so true.
Yeah, forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the same principle with forgiveness, isn't it?
Yeah.
It often does more for the forgiver than it does.
Yeah, and that's important in relationships.
We've got to seek to understand the other person. We've got to recognize we're on the same team and working towards the same end goal. I think that's the power of the posture right back at the start, is that you can both sit here and then consider the issue out here in front of us. It makes a whole big difference than the issues with you or the issues with me.
What's that tip that our psychologist taught us about? Is it the tissue box or the glass?
It was to actually to say, okay,
it's a helpful
visual. This is
visual.
the problem with Josh's driving. Let's put Josh's driving on the table between us and let's both talk about what we see about Josh's driving. Rather than Josh's drive. Oh, that's me. That's like my identity. I'm holding this. This is something you're attacking on me. So that's another safe word or a safe object that we use to bring the conversation away from attack and on to actually resolving an issue.
I just want to encourage you too, like if you're an avoider like me, I think we've learnt, I'm learning, like it's so important to have these crucial conversations. Like you grow stronger and better in your relationships when you do them. So yes, they are hard, but you see the benefit when you do them, and you grow more intimate with each other. Into me you see.
Is the definition of intimacy, isn't it? Intimacy, allowing people to see into you. And they can't do that if we're defending. They can't do that if we're bashing through doors, and they can't do that if we're avoiding. So I hope that's just a conversation starter for you in your cruise or in your relationships. Maybe you've got a crucial conversation you've got in mind. There are so many other tools. I think the big highlights for me is you've got to have the conversation. recognize you're not perfect at doing them, and that's okay. And I'm probably going to throw another tip in here is actually start a conversation like that. Hey, this is going to be a really hard conversation for me. I'm not sure how to say it all correctly. Maybe can I spill the words on the table, and would you just allow me to have the conversation? Why? Not for my benefit, but for the benefit of us. If we come to a conversation helping someone, it's very different than trying to get something from them. And so, yeah, coming with that heart of, hey, they're a child of God. Sunday's message, you know, we come from that foundation, and then we just try to put together the tools, learn them, do them better, unpack, and hopefully on the other side of those conversations is growth, greater intimacy, and a new direction.
Can I pray?
You can pray.
Cool.
Let's pray.
God, I just pray that we have courage to have these crucial conversations, Lord. And I just pray for this time in people's crews, Lord, that your Spirit is with them, God. And we can just start these conversations, and you just give us wisdom and the words to say, Lord. And we just thank you that you are such a good and faithful God. Amen.
Amen.